Today I'm going to show you how to do sweet and sour chicken. It's a very delicious recipe. There's plenty of ways you can do it. Always remember, a recipe is just a guide. You don't have to follow it precisely. You can edit it, you can add to it, you can change it, and you can make it yours. So basically this is what I call my version of the sweet and sour chicken. For this recipe, what we will need is half a kilo of chicken breast cut and diced into chunks. As you can see, this is the chunk that I made. We're gonna need half an onion and we're gonna dice it. We're gonna need 1 full lemon, 2 rings of pineapple, 1 red pepper diced into cubes, just like that. The other half of the onion, we're gonna cut it into wedges. And if you want to see how to cut the onions as wedges and how to cut how to dice the onions, there's another video on my channel that shows precisely how to do that. Also, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper, and we're going to mix them together. 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, 1 medium-sized leaf of lemongrass, 2 worth of teaspoons of ginger diced finely, 1 red chili pepper, 3 garlic cloves diced finely, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, half a glass of pineapple juice. You can just basically use the juice from the pineapple can. We're going to use a cup of cornstarch, the worth of half a cup of sesame oil, and 2 tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, and half a cup of rice vinegar. The rice vinegar and the sesame oil are quite tricky to find. The chili, sweet chili, is optional. If you don't want to use it, it's not gonna alter the recipe that much, but of course it adds a lot of nice taste. However, the sesame oil and the rice vinegar are quite essential for the recipe. If you can't find them, I always find, I'm quite lucky with Alpha Market. There's a whole section for Asian food and Indian food, and you can always find sesame oil and rice vinegar. This is what we will need for a nice portion of sweet and sour chicken for 2 or 3 people. First thing we want to do is coat the chicken. Basically, cornstarch, you're going to find it in most of Chinese food. What it does is it acts as both a thickener for the sauce that you're doing, and also it really coats the chicken or the meat that you're cooking, or duck. So what we're going to do is we're going to put half the portion we have from chicken into a big bowl, mixing bowl, just half of it, and we're going to add a little bit of cornstarch on it, half the quantity of cornstarch also, and we're going to mix it. We need to make sure that all of the chicken is completely covered with the cornstarch. And that's why we go slowly and we do half at a time, just so they wouldn't stick to each other and become lumpy. We want each piece to be completely separated than the rest. As you can see, there you go. It's quite nice now. There's still some pieces that are not covered with cornstarch, so we'll add a little bit more. There we go. Now they're not as sticky as they used to be. Actually, they're quite soft, and you're gonna find your fingers running over them. Anyway, I'm just gonna get off the excess water here. And we're going to add a little bit more, or just the rest of the quantity, and a little bit of cornstarch again, and mix. As you can see now, the chicken is quite covered from all sides. We want to get rid of the excess cornstarch, so we're going to get our original plate again, and we're going to start putting the chicken that it was already done on the side, in order to avoid having too much cornstarch into the dish that we're gonna make.
It looks a bit like Turkish delight.
It does, but I wouldn't recommend eating it like that. We can store this for later use. We still have a little bit left over, or you can get rid of it if you don't need it. So now that we prepared our chicken, what we're going to do is we're going to get a wok, and I love this thing. One of the very first things that I bought in my kitchen is a wok. You can do so much in it. You can do Chinese food, you can do Indian food, you can do Egyptian food, you can just take it to bed, whatever you want. Anyway, so we're going to put it on low fire until it heats up, or actually we can just up the fire a little bit until the wok is ready to ready for the cooking. It's very important that before you start that your wok is really hot. Once it's hot, you can put the fire down again, because right now we don't want the fire to be extremely once we start cooking, we don't want the fire to be really hot. One way to figure out whether your pan is ready to be used or not is to sprinkle a little bit of water on it, and if it just immediately evaporates, then it's ready. If it did exactly like what it did right now, which took a little bit of time to evaporate, then you just leave it a little bit longer. So we're going to try that again. Can you hear the sound? Now you know that you're ready to go. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of oil, like the worth of 1 tablespoon. There we go. And we're going to add our diced onions. Aha! And that's how you know it's hot. And we're going to start mixing it right away, because we don't want it to burn. And don't forget, put the fire down to low or medium heat. Just mix it, keep on mixing. We don't want the onion to burn or to become completely golden. We just want it to wait until it's translucent. And at that point you're already going to smell the sesame oil. It smells so potent, it's so Asian, I love its smell. And it leaves this very distinctive taste in food. Now we're going to add the rest of our spices. We're going to start with garlic, and then lemongrass, then ginger, and we're going to leave the chili for a bit. Now we don't want to add the chili now. We're going to mix it again. One thing about garlic, you never add it right away with the onions, because if garlic gets burnt, it's going to become quite bitter and it's going to leave a very nasty taste in food. So you don't want to leave this for a very long time on the fire, especially when you add the garlic. And as you can see right now, the onions are quite translucent and they look very nice and juicy. What we will do right now is we're going to add a little bit of the pineapple juice that we collected, not all of it, just a little bit, because we don't want half of it, a bit more. We don't want this to burn. We want to start sort of simmering it or semi-boiling it rather than frying it. And we're going to continue mixing, always mixing all the time. It smells so good. Leave it be for a second until we can put actually the fire up at this point a little bit, because we've already added the juice, so it's okay. Just bring it to low boil. If you look at the edges here, it's starting to boil a little bit. That's okay. We want that. a little bit of boil. What we will do right now is we're going to add our chicken. And mix that quickly. As you can see, what happened was that the chicken and the cornstarch absorbed right away the juices, and all of a sudden we don't have juice anymore again. So this is great, because what we want to do right now is just give the chicken a quick fry. But before it starts sticking to each other quite strongly like that, we're going to add the rest of the juice that we have. And it's going to keep on moving. Don't want it to stick. Keep on moving. As you can see already, the chicken is starting to turn white rather than pink. That's good. That's from frying it a little bit. Now we're going to add our onions, add our pepper, pineapples, and the chili. We're also going to add worth of half a cup of rice vinegar, another tablespoon, of sesame oil, and our 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we're going to give it a mix. As you can see, until this point it's still frying. There's not that enough sauce in it, which is fine for now, but eventually we're going to have to add the sauce, so we can add a little bit of water. Not too much at the beginning, just a little bit, and then mix again. The cornstarch that we put earlier is going to start making the water and the sauce that we're creating much thicker as we keep on mixing. And look at that. It's very colorful, it's very nice. Okay. Keep on mixing. Don't want anything to stick to each other. Look at the sauce, it's became quite thick in no time. At this point we're going to add our sugar and the salt and pepper, and we're going to mix again. Now the amount of sauce it should have is completely up to you. Some people like it like this. Most Chinese people, or the places where I've had sweet and sour, didn't have that much sauce in it. It was just pretty much like this. But some people like it quite saucy. I, for one, I like a little bit of sauce, especially if I'm not going to eat it all by itself and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of rice. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of more water. There we go. And look at that. It's starting to look really amazing. It's really quick. It's really easy. One of the simplest Chinese dishes that you can make. It completely impresses anybody that you invite over or you present the dish to. And it tastes extremely delicious. Always remember to keep on tasting all the time while you're cooking, because this is the only way that you can refine your recipe, is by seeing how far you've reached. Like right now I have no clue what this tastes like. It just smells really good. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna dip my little pinky really quick in the sauce. I'm gonna try it. It's really hot. It's a bit stale because I forgot one more ingredient, which is lemons. So I'm gonna add the lemons. Make sure you don't drop the seeds in. You can use lemon squeezer if you want. I dropped one seed in. It's not always, doesn't always go as you want it to go. So I'm just gonna try and fish the seeds out. Okay, I'm gonna put the fire down now, because we reached the point where we just want to refine our dish. It's quite cooked now. We can serve it already. The chicken is quite done. Looks amazing. The sauce thickness, for me, this thickness is just brilliant. I don't want it to be any thicker than that, and I don't want it to be any lighter than that. If you want it to be lighter, you can add water. If you want it to be thicker, you can add cornstarch. But for me, this is just perfect. I'm just mixing it a little bit for the lemon to settle in. And I'm gonna give it another taste. Perhaps something else needs to be added. It's perfect. So, here you are. Sweet and sour chicken. Ready to be served.